So hello and welcome to the video, and welcome to Zagreb Airport in beautiful Croatia. It is a lovely day. So flying directly back to London on British Airways was a bit dull, so I had a look around and found a very compelling fare offered by Croatian Airlines, albeit entirely operated by Austrian Airlines via Vienna. So today I'll be flying from Zagreb up to Vienna and then connecting after about a 3 or 4 hour wait in Vienna on a flight up to London. I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope you are too, and if you'd like to see how things go, stick around. Hi, I'm Matt. I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. I've flown over 1.4 million miles. I've visited over 100 countries, every American state, but I'm nowhere near done. So subscribe to see where I go next and perhaps get some inspiration for your next trip. Zagreb Airport is really nice. The terminal was opened in 2017 and was a very pleasant space to transit. Helped no doubt by it being 10 in the morning when no flights were leaving, so it was very quiet. It's only about 10 miles south of central Zagreb too. I'll make a separate video about what I found in Zagreb, so look out for that in the next couple of weeks. I had a Croatian Airways ticket for an Austrian Airlines flight, so I wasn't sure what check-in desk to head for, but I spotted the Croatian check-in area first and she was able to check me in very efficiently. That was probably where I needed to go anyway, as Croatian had sold me the ticket and I could have checked in online, but I do like having physical boarding passes as souvenirs of my flights, and I do like these brief moments of interaction when I am making videos about premium cabins. Security was completely deserted. I stuck with the fast-track route as a point of principle, even though it made absolutely no difference to how long it took to get through. Croatia is not in the Schengen zone, so all international passengers need to pass through passport control immediately after security. Deserted once again, so I was not penalised for my country having departed from the European Union. Airport design best practice was followed once again with an enforced walk through the duty-free shop. I recently made a video about duty-free and Zagreb passed my value checks with flying colours. A litre of Cointreau was around £15, well below my par price of £20, and a litre of Jack Daniels was around £20 compared to my par of £25. I wasn't buying on this trip, but if you're travelling through Zagreb, the duty-free shop gets my approval. I do like the design of the terminal. Just the one lounge in the airport, available to every airline. I thought Croatian Airways might have had a flagship lounge presence at Zagreb, but they share this space with everyone else. Very pleasant space too, not huge, and it was getting busy when I left for my flight, but there was plenty of food and drink options. Indeed, there were some quite interesting spirit options. Had it been later in the day, it would have been quite fun to try some Croatian specialities. I did some editing and left the lounge in time to see the plane arrive, a 10-year-old Embraer 195. A couple of Ryanair flights were departing at the other end of the terminal, so there was a bit more life, and after a while boarding began. I was in boarding group 1, so took the opportunity to board early. Quite a long walk down the boarding channel and a brief moment of buffering at the airplane door, but we were on soon enough. A 2-2 configuration throughout the plane. No difference in the business class configuration, with a curtain that can be moved back and forth to meet demand, the usual setup for European business classes these days. Only 2 rows of business class today, and I was in the second of them. Only every other seat is sold in business class, so with 3 passengers the cabin was 75% full that day. 31 inches of legroom, which was decent enough, literature, which I'll look at later, and a table. And above you were lights and air vents. A couple of youngsters with tight connections in Vienna tried to self-upgrade into the spare business seats to speed their exit on landing, but were given very short shrift by the flight attendants. We pushed back bang on time, which gives me this opportunity. What's Austria's second airline? Louder! What's Austria's second airline? I am available for pantomime. A little bit of high cloud as we took off, but we got very pleasant views of Zagreb and its surroundings as we turned to the north. Only 165 miles up to Vienna, which made this the 11th shortest flight I've ever been on. If anyone's wondering, La Ceiba to Roatan in Honduras is the shortest flight I've ever been on at 45 miles. Los Angeles to Doha is the longest, as I showed in this video, although I have booked myself onto an even longer flight early next year. Despite the briefness of the flight, the excellent crew still offered a service, a sandwich pack and an orange juice, although other drinks including alcohol were available. Quite smart packaging here, reminding people that they are welcome to take the sarnies with them for later if they choose. Followed by a staple of Central European Airlines, a chocolate. And the crew still managed to run a trolley the length of the economy cabin selling refreshments. I always wonder whether smaller aircraft like an Embraer still carry the full refreshment range, and it looked like this one did. I can't believe the full range of duty-free items were carried though. Some great views of Vienna as we descended into the airport. At 165 miles, not across any bodies of water, it might not sound like a routing that would be effective to fly, but for various reasons the two cities are not well connected. It takes 4 hours to drive between them and it's 7 hours on a train, so this air link probably does make sense. And down after only 36 minutes in the air. A long taxi and then a development which no doubt sank the hearts of anyone with a tight connection. We stopped at a bus gate. You could feel the anxiety building. Most people don't realise that if an airline sells you a short connection, it's hugely expensive for them to reroute anyone who misses that connection, so they will hold your departing plane if you have any chance of making it. It's always fun to drive across the tarmac to see the planes close up, even if a bus gate is a chore in almost every other way. Vienna Airport is quite big, a lot bigger than Zagreb for sure. I was transiting from a non-Schengen to another non-Schengen destination, and it was a bit confusing. Unlike most transit passengers, I wasn't entering Austria or the Schengen zone, so I didn't need to go through any passport controls. Indeed, we were directed up in this lift to this lengthy elevated corridor which took us from one end of the terminal to the other. I wouldn't have fancied that with mobility issues, but when we descended back down I found the gates and lounges for departures to non-Schengen destinations. I actually found 3 lounges, a regular business lounge, a senator lounge for Star Alliance Gold Card holders, and a first class lounge for first class passengers and miles and more Hon Circle Super Gold status holders, although this super lounge was closed when I was there. I have gold status with Aegean, check out this video for how I got it, so I was granted access to the senator section. And it was pretty good. A great view of the ramp, plus hot and cold food options, plenty of wines, beers and spirits to choose from. Note the bottle of Gordon's gin. I'd noticed there was a shower facility between the lounges, so as I had a few hours to kill, I thought I'd take a shower. There are 2 available only to Senator and Hon Circle travellers. A good facility. When I dried off and headed back to the Senator Lounge, it was a little annoying to find that they'd closed it while I'd been away. I was then directed to the regular business lounge and was assured it had an identical food and beverage offering to the Senator Lounge, which does sort of undermine the point of offering a Senator Lounge as an upgrade, but fair enough, we are still getting back into the swing of things after the you-know-what. It was similarly furnished and was pretty quiet, and whilst the food offering might actually have been a bit more extensive, there was no gin. I asked the lounge guardian if I could just pop into the Senator Lounge and take the bottle of gin through, as the offerings are identical, right? She actually got a little shirty with me and complained about there being staff shortages throughout Austria, and it turned out that the lounge offerings were different after all, and that gin was not offered in the regular business lounge. They actually brought me a glass of gin in that business lounge, which was nice of them, but overall it wasn't well handled. But it was by no means a big deal, and I watched some planes and worked on some scripts, and after a few hours wandered over to the gates. Through the inevitable duty-free shop. Cointreau and Jack Daniels were both priced just over par here, so buying grog in Vienna Airport is a no from me. Quite a long walk actually, and when I was en route a 15-minute delay was announced, probably down to the rain that was now falling. That delay was never actually updated, but probably should have been, as the plane arrived after our delayed departure time. The delay stretched, and when boarding started it ended up being a bit of a scrum, as people were a bit confused from the lack of communication. Once again I chose to board in Group 1 and made my way onto this 15-year-old Airbus A320. The 3-3 configuration you'd expect, with 4 rows of business class that evening and the middle seats kept free to create some sense of value for the business traveller. An inch less legroom than the Embraer at 30 inches, but it was decent enough. The same food and duty-free magazines, a table, and this dinky clothes peg was actually part of the meal service, presumably to assist with napkin management. Quite a cute touch actually. Plus overhead air vents, as I know some of you really like them. Power between the seats too. We finally took off an hour and 10 minutes late, with the delay blamed on the weather. I recently flew on ITA Airways, and was very critical of them for only offering one vegetarian dish to the business cabin. So I also need to be very critical of Austrian, as they did exactly the same. Doe & Co catering, so it was absolutely delicious, but I still think it's reasonable to expect a choice when you pay so much for a business experience. That chocolate dessert was exceptional though. At least Austrian did offer spirits, so I had a very pleasant cognac after the meal, and the cabin crew could be bothered to clear the cabin after service, so ITA remains firmly at the foot of my European business class performance table. And there was also the obligatory chocolate, which I decided to skip this time and take home for my mum. Not much else to report really, and after around a 2-hour flight we descended into London and landed about 45 minutes late. And we landed to the very sad news that the Queen's death had been announced while we'd been in the air. There was no announcement on the plane, but phones started pinging as soon as they were switched back on. Quite a sombre mood in Heathrow as I joined what looked to be a horrific immigration line, but it moved pretty quickly and I was through in about 25 minutes. I don't think foreign passport holders were enjoying the experience. I paid £247 for my ticket from Zagreb to London via Vienna, and as that gave me more than 3 hours of scheduled flying time, it came in well under my price ceiling of £100 per premium cabin flying hour. Each flight also earned 2,000 points into my Aegean account, as the earning rate on Austrian is very generous if you take relatively short flights. And Austrian was good. Both crews were very friendly and accommodating, and the seats and planes were probably as good as you can realistically expect on an intra-European business class flight these days. The food was delicious, even if there really needs to be a choice offered on a 2-hour flight. And the lounges were comfortable and well provisioned, even if the staff were a little stressed and grumpy. But I would happily fly with Austrian again. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Give the video a like if you did. Have you flown on Austrian? Would you consider them after watching this? Please subscribe if you're new, and if you'd like to support what I'm doing more directly, I have a Patreon account, the link to which is in the description below. So thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.